Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this episode of ChatEBC, where we get to know all of the different members from around the world, all across Europe and beyond, who are members of this extraordinary bridge chapter, the European Bridge chapter. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Stephan van Gelder. Stephan is somebody who I've known for quite a few years now, way before joining EBC. We'd met at a couple of regional events. We were just reminiscing on the GSEA competitions when we met a couple of years ago at various GLCs around the world. So delighted to be joined by Stephan and finding out a little bit more about him. So Stephan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Stefan. It's Stefan Steven. It's almost feeling home by name.
It's almost the same. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so Stephan, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, family, upbringing, all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah. I'm living in Amsterdam. Actually, I was born in Rotterdam, and for the first 50 years of my life, I was living in the area of Rotterdam, and then I moved to Amsterdam 5 years ago. I have a daughter, Yara. She's 18, and I have a girlfriend since 2.5 years, and she's living with me since a month. So that's something new. But she's still looking for a house because we really decided on the next 3 years. We're not going to live together, but we'll live in perfect LAT, living apart together situation, and so I can. Uprise once again in my life, and so can she.
Very good.
Yeah, and I
And
started a company in '93 to also elaborate on my entrepreneurial journey. So I was
mhm.
23. I was a very young kid, students, and then we did a certain project for a car manufacturer in Germany as Dutch students. We did a market research, and when we came home, we did the same topic again, and then we graduated, and that was the starting point of them asking, "Can you do some more research?" And then suddenly, when I was turning 23, me and myself and a friend, suddenly we had a research company. So that was the starting point of my entrepreneurial journey.
So that research company, is that company still in existence, or did it
Yeah,
change
it
to
still
something else,
exists.
or?
It's really a scale up. But 6 years ago, I decided to leave the company. It was a company of 3.5 million euro. There were two younger guys, 10 years younger, working with me already for years. And I really felt that either we do it together or I step aside and they do it together. And I decided to leave the company and that they play their game 6 years ago. Yeah. So
And
normally when
what kind of
people think about I need to sell or I need to or find an integrator. But I decided to find two integrators, and yeah,
and let the integrators fight amongst themselves?
precisely, and see what happens. And it was quite scary for
So
me because at that time it was like giving them the keys and cage myself because we're always also in a situation that the company was not doing really good. Yeah.
well, I want to get in. I want to get into that transition in a few minutes, but just to dive into the company a little bit more. So you said you did research. What
Yeah,
kind of research were you doing?
customer and employee satisfaction research. So nowadays it's called CX and EX. So we really gathered information on how people perceive the company, customer and employees. So customer loyalty, employee engagement, project at that time. So we sold single projects, and I changed the whole company into programs of 3 years. So I did my visionary work for years, and when I left 6 years ago, it was really knew who we were and what we were targeting at, and for me the job was almost done. Yeah.
And was this just in the Netherlands, or was this international?
First Netherlands, we had 6 years of internationalizing the services. That was in 2015, 16, 17, but in the end it was not as successful. We were at that time in France, Germany, US, and Australia. But after 6 years, it was more cash burning than really making any money out of it. So we had to downscale it again.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then I changed the whole formula into, okay, how to bring more value to the customers instead of just measuring. Also do some consulting on how to activate the information that's coming out of the survey. Until that time, customers were really buying. I want to know where am I and what are is good and what can be bettered, improved.
Hmm.
And I changed it into, okay, we'll do long programs and make it happen that you will improve your customer loyalty or your employee engagement. Yeah,
So you said you started this as part you was it you started as a university project and then you decided
yeah. No,
actually
first
we can make a
yeah,
go of
yeah.
this.
We did a practice in Germany, and I was 22, 23. One of my I started with a guy. Later on, he was also a member of EO, but he quit about 10 years ago the EO program. But he and I, yeah, we from nothing we built our company to a 4 million euro company till, and we grew till 2008, 2010. Then the crisis was there, and then we had 10 years of up and down, and more or less
Hmm.
also going down. And then I went to difficult times in my private life, but also he and I, we were separating. So almost in the same month, I separated my wife, my ex-wife nowadays, and I separated him. So that was 2008, 2010. That was a very difficult time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned there that you're not as involved in the company anymore. You're doing something else, and we'll get into what you're doing now in a minute. But
Yeah.
what was that journey? You said you'd put stuff in place, you'd done your visionary stuff, and then 6 years ago you started moving away from the company.
Yeah, yeah,
Tell us about that
overnight.
transition.
Yeah, I had.
Overnight, you woke
It
up one
was
morning and said, "That's it, I've had enough."
almost, yeah. We had a big thing going on in 2016, 17 because then we were bribed for hundreds of thousands of K. Over now 400K, so a lot of money. Our admin bribed us. So we really had to do. So the whole company had to renovate it again at that time. We did it with a team. I had two guys in my company. My former shareholder, he was also with a guy. So our team really improved the whole company. And in 2017, we said, okay, we are back on track. And then the years before, I had these quarterlies with my management, the two guys who now run the show. And after 10 months, 12 months hard working, I said, okay, let's have our quarterly again, and with two questions. So, what are we going to do, and it's going to do what? And that was the moment in November 2017 that we decided I step aside and they step up and take my position. And yes, it should have been done in April, but then at Christmas Eve, sitting with all the team and drinking a lot. At that time, I still drank. Nowadays, I don't drink anymore alcohol. I said, why not do it tonight? And I do my farewell speech at that moment, and so I did. So yeah, it was a bit overnight.
Oh
Um,
wow, okay.
and, and,
That's a
and
real
the
EO
first
intense
January of,
story.
I think it was the second January 2018. There was no traveling anymore to the company. Yeah. So, and then you sit at home. Okay, what's next?
So to go back onto that, so you had in April you made the decision, so you did a lot of a transition then I guess between April and December, and you go, okay, now is
Mhm.
the time.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
just pull the band-aid off and let's get to it.
yeah.
Um, so you did a lot of work to get the company back on track, to get where you wanted to be. Did you know when you were finishing, like in December, you made a decision overnight, but did you know, okay, this is what I want the next chapter of my life to be? Or did you just go,
No, I
I'm
just
done
had
with
a
this, I'll figure it out?
no, I just had a vague idea. I met a friend of the in EO, And we both said, okay, let's outsource our companies and build together a company on consciousness. We lost spirituality and consciousness, so why not bring consciousness into companies? He had a training company, I had a research company, so we thought, okay, 1+1 is 3. So it was just the idea, and we started working on that idea in 2018. But already in 1 year and a half, we decided this will not work. He had to move into his company again. He was living in Amsterdam, so I also moved to Amsterdam. But mid 2019, he had to leave our project, and then I was sitting here in Amsterdam with basically nothing, because I outsourced my company. I changed where I lived. So I had this crazy situation that the whole year I had nothing on my plate, nothing to work on, nothing. So that was
Which, as we know, for an entrepreneur is probably more stress inducing than anything else.
yeah. People who know it, or people who will listen to this, or imagine that one day there's nothing. You
Hmm.
wake up, it's happened to me. It's quite scary, I can tell you, because this energy, it wants to move, it wants to create, it wants to build, it wants to meet, it wants to connect, it wants to do something. So sitting still with your hands under your ass, it's not the perfect situation. So it was really confronting to me that summer. Also, it was my first summer in Amsterdam. I also had to take care of my daughter. I was divorced years before that time, for a number of weeks. So it was like, okay, how will I do it? How will I deal with this?
So then, what was the next step? So you had this project. That's not
Yeah, I had this
exactly what you're
project.
working on, but you have like
Yeah,
you were able to take the bits that you wanted to do from that, or what was the next step?
yeah. My friend, my partner said, okay, he said, you proceed, and I have to go into my company again. But then I thought, I already outsourced a company. I'm not going to build a company again by myself. Not a company like hiring people and building a team and scaling the company. So that was for me at that time a no go. Um, I even at that time thought, okay, I start wondering about myself. What do I really love? And I love people. I love connecting to people. I like inspiring people, and I like to take care of people. So at that time, I thought, okay, why not just meet up with entrepreneurs and see what happens? Um, and this was the starting point of my next phase in my entrepreneurial life. So I had nothing, but I started connecting to people and start talking to them. And as I was quite, and when I was 38, 40, I was already really into a dark period of my life. And since that time till now, the past 14, 15 years, I was working on and on personal development, on and on consciousness, on and on all kind of things. So I was a certain wise man, not working in the company, but aside the company,
Hmm.
and having my conscious path. So for a lot of entrepreneurs, I was an interesting guy to talk with on okay. And I was living in Amsterdam. I was living a sort of, that was their perception. A little bit a rock star life, like he's everywhere. He's spending only good times in various countries.
Hmm.
There's a lot of perceptions, and sure, I do understand that it's also because of myself, because I wrote at that time a lot of messages on Facebook, like look at me.
Hmm.
Um, um, yeah, so I was an interesting partner to speak with. Yeah.
So now that you still have, you didn't sell the company completely, the previous company.
Yeah,
You still have some kind of an
true.
interest in it.
Yeah, so it's interesting that I decided to outsource the company and step aside overnight. Then they had this 3 year. It was Corona, so it gave them an extra year to build the company again of revenue X, and they managed. And then I decided, okay, I want to sell 50 or 20% of the shares to each of them, so that I still had the majority. But when I was in Santorini with EO, I received this message: we have a far more better idea. Why not buy 1/3 each, and that you will also have 1/3? So that was a bit different for me than my own plan, because I thought
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to have the majority, and that they have the minority, and that they have to work for their share. So it was really confronting that they had this different view on how to cooperate. But then luckily, because of my conscious work, I was really okay. Let's wait, and let's understand why they were saying this, and then overnight we decided, okay, that's a far more better idea, but because it's true, they do the work and I sit at home. Um, so 1/3 each
Mm-hmm.
is equal, and equality is mostly the best for steering energy by nature, instead of some has a bit more and some has a bit less. And yes, they paid, and yes, they also lent some money in the financial market, and yeah. So that was the starting point of I was when I left the company, I was 48, but 2 years ago I was 53. So at 53, I'm not saying financially independent, but I built for the first time in my life, I had a lot of financial security.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have the consulting and the coaching that you're doing now, which is the bit that I think
Yeah.
is probably the exciting and
Yeah.
the fulfilling part of it. Not to say
Yeah.
that the business is not fulfilling, but you still have an interest in that. So
Yeah.
between those two things, between the research and the coaching and everything else, um, what's on your mind at the moment? Now, not 5% kind of deep stuff, but
Yeah.
while you're managing that transition and while you're kind of
Yeah.
still a little bit involved in the business and building the coaching, what's on your mind at the moment?
Yeah. So my whole life was about becoming independent. Also in love life, just be with myself, comfortable with myself. I also managed to organize it business wise. I also found my real true purpose on guiding entrepreneurs with Inner Journey Guide, which is very successful. And my 5% is there is this still this thing in me that wants to. You can say it into it's my alter ego. I love to build and make the
Mm-hmm.
best out of it. But I also have to balance this what I'm growing and building with who I am nowadays. So on the one hand, I'm perfectly comfortable with my business and what I'm doing. But on the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, there is this ego part that wants to drive it and wants to get the best out of it, wants to have every day a new customer.
Mm-hmm.
So my 5% is balance your desire and your neediness with just being content and grateful of where you are. And I do understand that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a creator.
Okay.
What is balancing? Yeah,
So that's an interesting then segue on to the next question. So you have the side part in the business, you have your own consulting and balance stuff that you're doing at the moment, but you had this. We all have this drive of wanting to get bigger and bigger and do it more and more. So
urge.
if you weren't doing exactly what you're doing now in the consulting and the coaching side of things, what would you like to explore? What kind of areas or what kind of genres or industries would you like to explore doing something in?
Probably a great question. Two answers. One answer is because I've only one hobby. I do have hobbies like hot yoga, and I love hot yoga. I love to be very, very, very vital and strong and also healthy. But I also like and it's maybe my only KPI, the number of times that I get my passport out of the locker here and use it.
Okay.
So when last week I heard someone who bought a car and is driving from Alaska to the south of South America in a number of months.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's one answer. So why not?
Yeah.
Just imagine you just travel. It's just going south. It's like magnetism. You just go by yourself and then
Hmm.
like a free ride or a free fall. I don't know, and just see what will happen. It seems like a big adventure. So that's on the other hand. And if it's really and the other hand, so why not contribute to the greater good? Uh,
Hmm.
so just see what kind of organizations are longing for my energy, and my energy is about creating, manifesting a lot of power through connections, inspiration. That would be the latter, the second answer. So
Okay.
not for money wise, then just skip the money and really impact by the heart, or could be both. Um, just travel the world.
Travel the world. That sounds interesting.
And my daughter is in July. She's 19. She's okay with that. She has
Hmm.
a boyfriend now. Yesterday, for the first time, she came with her boyfriend. It was Easter, and they had lunch and they left. So the first time, and I can still feel it in her heart. My daughter came and she left. So normally she stays over. For the
Hmm.
first time, this was really a moment of okay. She is an adult. She has
Yeah.
her own wings. Yeah. So
That's a
I'm able. I have this space and availability of travel and be.
So that just what you said there about your daughter is resonating, because my daughter is going to be 17 in a couple of weeks' time. She has a boyfriend. We've met him a few times. He's a lovely guy. We've known him for a few years now. And my younger daughter has no interest in any of that. She's 14. She's not really interested in that scene yet. But we were just on holiday, and it's funny. I'm trying to still be a father, but they're young adults. Like, they want their own freedom, they want their own stuff. But I wanting to be kind of together with them, because I travel a lot, so I miss them when I'm away. But
Yeah.
and it's something that I'm kind of struggling with a little bit myself, is where how do I still be a father but let them be young women and let them be their own people? So it's definitely something that I think you and I can probably get into
Yeah.
over a cup of
And,
coffee or
and,
something when
and
we're at our
glance
next
back
retreat.
to your own life, how you start using your own wings. And in the end,
Yeah.
I know that your your parents or the parents of your wife are living
My
in
parents are
the
living
same
downstairs,
house.
so I live in the same house as
Yeah.
as my parents. Yeah, so they live
But
downstairs, we
just
live
imagine,
upstairs. So, yeah, so
you can't predict life. Yeah.
no, absolutely. So, Stefan, you said that you started the business when you were in your early 20s, 22, 23, something like that. You built up the business, you've sold the business, you've done your own stuff. How long have you been in EO?
EO 15 years, 14
Okay.
years, and I'm very proud on my second year. I was the moderator. In my third year, I started Accelerator. I founded Accelerator in the Netherlands. Nowadays, it's the number one
Wow.
program in the
It's the
world
biggest
for
one in the
Europe.
world. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
about thousands of accelerators were in the program the past 15 years. I was the president during the Change the World University. And then I moved into EMEA, Europe, and later
Mm-hmm.
global on Accelerator. Yeah,
Very cool.
and yeah, well, I'm actually now in two other forums in the Netherlands. Um, yeah, true. What's next and Insignia. So what's next about when you
Insignia.
start a
Okay.
business, and Insignia is for junior to members, a bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they are not non-EO anymore. They all quit, so we are still together. But
Okay.
yeah, things happen. And 4 years, or like 5 years ago, was Frido van Mossel. He was one of the founding fathers, almost the founding father of EBC. He was the
Yep.
president, previous president before Karsten Waring.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I already 5 years ago said, Steve, you love traveling. You must come to EBC.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the starting point of a conversation, and 3 years ago, I really dived into it. Yeah.
So then, tell me what's special about EBC for you? Because if you're in two other forums in the Netherlands, you have
Yeah.
an EO life in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
What's special about EBC for you?
And next year, EBC will be my number one chapter, or so
Okay.
I will change my membership. Uh, I love traveling.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not the best answer, but I love traveling. Secondly, I love diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and EBC is very diverse. And I
Yeah.
also like entrepreneurs. I love adventure, I like new stuff, and especially new stuff. And I want to go deep. Um, and sure, you can go deep in your forum, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but in EBC, you go really deep
Yeah.
in your forum, and every time your forum members are different. And I've been now at a quarterly event, I think 5 or 6 times. So 7 times 7 is about 50 people. Probably
Mm-hmm.
40 people were new during all these occasions in forum.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you meet up with new forum members, 6 or 7 people. And every time you do your own case and your own updates, and
Mm-hmm.
you do the coach of one or the other cases. And it's unbelievably how deep you go in those 2 or 3 days together. So it was for me, yeah, and I felt it already. I'm good in feeling. I already felt this is something, and it was really an epiphany for me how deep you can go with strangers, but like-minded strangers. And the
Mm-hmm.
funny thing is it seems almost that we're all soul searchers too. So not just the typical entrepreneur working on more money and selling more stuff, or buying more houses. No, somehow there is a crowd of soul searchers gathered who want to go deep, be
Mm-hmm.
interconnected, be vulnerable, be open, and yeah, travel together to the unknown.
Ah, I love it. I love it. So, Stefan, I'm going to have five random questions from a random interview question generator now. So there's no prep, there's no anything. It's just these are five random questions. Whatever's the first thing that comes into your
Love it.
mind,
It's a quiz.
that's the answer. Yeah. So, first question: if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Every day almost, I make this
Yeah,
perfect salad.
perfect salad.
A perfect salad, yeah. Every
Okay.
day. When customers, when entrepreneurs come with me, none of my entrepreneurs who are a client know my perfect salad. So this perfect salad.
Second question: what's a movie that has significantly impacted your life?
Many. Yeah, the pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness, the
Pursuit
Will
of
Smith one.
Yeah, it was. It's like, yeah, Pursuit of Happiness. It's a beautiful movie, and it was even
Mm-hmm.
once broadcasted during an EO event, or this guy was in the movie was even on an EO event. It was really confronting on yeah, you can
I do
pursue your
remember,
happiness. Yeah.
yeah, I do
There's
remember
so many
seeing
books
him.
on happiness is here and happiness is now, and don't step over happiness. And this actually, yeah, it probably is also my occupation nowadays. I'm into this happiness business, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs are suffering or caging themselves, and this energy just wants to flow freely, on purpose.
Okay, I love it. It's a great answer. Third question: what is one thing you could not go a day without?
Mm, I have 10 habits, and I earmark them every day. So I'm
Okay.
now going. I think my number one habit since some time is read at least 20 pages.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm not going to what reading could mean for someone, but read 20 pages mindfully in without a stop and really go deep in the story. I bought yesterday 3 new books. Yes, it's reading.
Okay. Very good.
And maybe a small hug of my girlfriend. So don't
Well,
forget it.
yeah, yeah. That's
Or a
that's
kiss of
that's
my
good.
daughter, or this small hug yesterday when she sat here on the couch. And
Hmm.
yeah, but
Very
sometimes
good.
I'm alone. So then I just hug myself.
We're not going to get into that conversation. Fourth question. What's the biggest personal change you've ever made?
Uh, I made a lot of changes. I'm totally not the same guy that I was 10 years ago. People who know me for 10 years, they know that I was very restless. I was very dependent. I could hardly be with myself. So now I can almost be a monk, be with myself, feel myself, be with myself, with all what's happening in myself. So I'm very happy that nowadays I'm into mental freedom too, and that I'm mentally free myself, uncage myself, and just live by myself on purpose. So I'm very happy that I don't drift away everywhere. That I
Hmm.
ground myself. I am.
Very cool. So then, I mean, this might be a similar answer then, but the final random question is: what's a topic you could talk about for hours?
Thank you. I can talk hours on your, for example, you, Stephen, or whomsoever, whatsoever, the mission of your soul. What is this thing in you, your key energy, and what's the mission of your soul, and where does it want to travel to, and I can. It's beautiful to have a talk with someone on what's your purpose, what are you meant to
Hmm.
do, and what's your unique energy. Because everything in this world, what is living, is there for a reason, for a purpose. But what I see is that a lot of entrepreneurs are not living their purpose. Somehow they're conditioned and programmed, and somewhere there's a certain pain, and I can address that pain easily with my heart. So so I did for myself. So I freed myself, and I love to free others. So in the end, it's the conversation about freeing yourself, uncaging yourself on purpose, your uniqueness, how to steer the wheel, how to. Yeah, I can talk with for hours on that topic, because
That's
every
amazing.
time, like for
That
example, my
sounds really
sessions with
passionate.
entrepreneurs, my sessions are always 2 to 3 hours.
Hmm.
Imagine I talk with 2 to 3 hours to someone on this topic, and they come every month, and it's unbelievable what happens in these so-called inner journeys. Yeah, so that would be my answer. And not to sell
That's really
myself,
cool.
just this. I
No,
love
no,
this.
it's if you, this is what you could talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
So the final question is a question that was asked by our previous guest, who's Karsten, who
Mhm.
you mentioned earlier on. And so we ask, and when we're finished the recording, I'll ask you to give me a question for the next guest. So we won't.
I
It's not
already
going to
have
be on
one.
the video, just in case. Okay.
Okay.
So the question from Karsten for the next guest is: when was a time when you were about to make a decision based on fear and you changed it to a decision based on love? So it's a very prevalent love, not fear question in
Well,
EBC.
um, yesterday night,
Mm-hmm.
and also yesterday morning, actually. Um, so yesterday I was writing. I had to write a post. I was trying it in the morning. I was trying it in the evening before supper, but I couldn't do it. It's uh, it's really I blocked totally.
Mm-hmm.
And normally when I block, I don't want this feeling, so I want to crush this feeling. So I will solve it. I will something will come out of my fingers. But it didn't happen. And my girlfriend was waiting with dinner here. So I was this unbalanced situation. So I thought, okay, what to do? And then I decided I'm going down, and I vulnerably tell her, I have this feeling. I cannot come up with something on writing a post on LinkedIn. So I did. And she said, "Oh, I feel sorry for you, but it's totally fine." And then she paused for a moment, and then she said, "So why don't you write a post on having this thing in you that you cannot write a post?" So it was being vulnerable, an act of love by her, and I said, "This is it." So I said, "We will have dinner, and then I go up." So I did, and in 3 minutes I wrote the whole message. And then I said to her, "Can you read it?" And she said, "It's just brilliant." Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
And in the morning we had a clash. To be all very open, and I went down, and I came up, and I told her, "Are you fine? Is it all done now?" With a laugh, and she started laughing too. So it's so especially when you have a fight. Normally, don't fight.
Mhm.
Just even for 1 minute, and then have a laugh
Instead of hate or fear.
precisely. Yeah.
Stephan, thank you very, very much for joining us on this episode. Looking forward to seeing you in Athens. You're going to Athens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So looking forward to seeing you there.
yeah,
And we can talk more about
yeah.
fatherhood and souls and the missions of souls, because I have and again, this is something, the whole purpose of these videos is to try and spark more conversation. So maybe somebody
Yeah.
else will see this and go, "Oh, I want to talk to him about that." But it
Yeah.
is
That's it.
mission and purpose is something that's very important to me, and I spend quite a bit of time trying to figure and refine it and make sure I'm on the right path. So I'm sure we're going to have lots of conversations about that at future
Love to
events.
see you.
So
And one address now in Amsterdam for the perfect salad, right?
perfect.
Be invited, and everyone who's looking to this video in the future, be invited.
Perfect. Stephan, thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you, EBC. Thank you, all the people, and have fun. Entrepreneurship should be about fun.